Hey guys, what's going on? It's your big dreamer and doer, G Dinero, coming to you today with a Wealthy Wednesday, a special edition today. Remember, none of this is financial, tax, legal, investment advice. It's your buddy G Dinero helping you increase your financial literacy to put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. So, why the all of a sudden Wealthy Wednesday segment? Well, one single message, you could call it a tweet, but it's not. It's on Truth Social. So one truth, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, put out a message today to the world saying that there's a 90-day pause on the tariffs that were getting ready to go into effect. That pause is effective immediately. Also, substantially lowered the reciprocal tariffs during this period by 10%. Effective immediately, with one caveat, one exception, and that's on China. He increased the taxes or the tariffs on China to 125%. To 125%. So let's see, how did the markets like what he had to say? So in just the short period of time since yesterday, I moved my Tuesday line over 1 week here so we could see where we were yesterday. Yesterday, we were kind of bouncing off the bottom, kind of meandering around here around the $80,000 mark with Bitcoin. Today, we dropped again at the beginning of the day, kind of overnight in the early morning hours, dropped again all the way back down to 74 and exploded to a high of almost $83,000 today before pulling back to around $82,000 on Bitcoin. So again, we're starting to make our way back up here to the 50-day moving average of around $86,000 and the 200-day moving average, which is right around $87,000. Look, we're not out of the woods yet, but obviously the markets were waiting for this. There was a lot of assets. Risks were off. There were a lot of assets on the table, a lot of cash on the sidelines, getting ready to go back in as soon as that signal was given to go risk on again. And it seems like this is a confirmed buying signal. We had the buy on the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. We also had the trend just recently flip up. We came from being mean reverted over 2 standard deviations to the downside. We're now starting to make our way back up again. Things are looking solid there for Bitcoin. Also here for Solana, same type thing. Going back to where I did the TA Tuesday, we were meandering around that $110 level with Solana. We dropped in the overnight hours to 101 and now springboarded straight back up above the 38.2% Fibonacci level, hitting a high of almost 121, almost 122 today. Now sitting in right around 118. We're kind of sitting in here around 118. Tesla on the 4-hour chart, again, going back to where we were on Tuesday. We were right around 242 yesterday when I made the video, somewhere thereabouts. We were tanking for all intents and purposes yesterday, bottomed out last night, and this morning we were bottomed again before springboarding all the way up to $267 a share. That's a move from basically overnight lows in the extended trading hours in the 217, 218 range, all the way up to 267. So that's like a 50-point move on this type of news. Again, great news for the stock market. We're putting in these green mean reversion dots. The trend is flipping. Things are looking strong. What did we recapture? We recaptured the 38.2% fib level, or 249. I kept calling it the 250 level with Tesla. That will now hopefully act as support. I know hope's not a strategy, but that should act as support. We may go down and retest that again. We may go all the way back down and retest the lows, but we have significantly double bottomed at those lows. On the way up, we're looking at breaking out of this channel that we've been in. That's at around 270. Next up would be the 200-day moving average at around 289, and then the 50% fib level at 295, with the 50-day moving average just above that, right around 300. So those are the levels of resistance on the way up, similar to what they were when we were talking yesterday. Just today, I felt like it was necessary to make a video to show the impact of one piece of news that everybody's been waiting for. Everything, the world seems to be revolving right now around these tariffs. And for 99% of the world, things are good. And for 1% of the world, China, those tariffs are going to hurt you. You know, Trump put those tariffs in place for a reason, because the balance of trade had swung so far out. I could maybe make a separate video on that, and I may make one on that a little bit later on to kind of talk about that balance of trade. But let's just put it this way. Over the last 25 years, the U.S. went from being a net importer in the couple $100 billion range to being a net importer in the like $1.5 trillion range, whereas China went from being a net exporter of a couple $100 billion to being a net exporter of like over $2 trillion. So they are exporting a ton of goods very cheap to the rest of the world and collecting a lot of money in doing so, whereas the rest of the world has been having to basically import or pay China for all these goods and services that were done very inexpensively over there, a lot of times with the help of the government itself. It wasn't just that all of a sudden people were willing to work for less over there. They were forced into it because of the socialistic way that their government operates. Of course, I am mixing in a little bit of politics today, but it plays a role as to why the markets are going absolutely ballistic today. Absolutely ballistic. So now let's look at MicroStrategy. Yesterday when we were talking, we were hoping to regain this 280 level of resistance. You know, it had previously been support right around 280 here. We were hoping to regain that and turn that into support again instead of it being resistance. Today yesterday at the end of the day, we actually broke below and closed below the 200-day moving average, which is usually a very bearish signal, right? To close below the 200-day. To retest it like we did back here, that's one thing. But to close below it, that's another, and that's not always a great sign. But we rebounded very strongly today, printing a buy signal here on the confluence, printing a giant green mean reversion dot over 2 standard deviations to the downside. And from the looks of it, it looks like the trend, if I hover over it right there, the trend is about to flip from orange to blue. When that happens, when it flips from orange to blue, we're back in a positive trend, and that would be a confirmed buy signal. You'll note that we've regained the midpoint of this descending linear regression channel that we've been in all the way since back here in November. We regained the midpoint of it, which was right around 269, and we're retesting the 50-day moving average, which is right here, right around 300 with MicroStrategy. We are finding a little bit of resistance there at that $300 level, which is not only a psychological level, but now also where the 50-day moving average is. Up from there, 320 has been a known level of resistance previously, and now we have the 100-day moving average. You'll note that it's no longer moving up. It's actually turned down, the 100-day moving average, and it's hovering right around 334 currently, with that 345 that we talked about before, 344 to be exact, 61.8% fib level, acting as super strong resistance. Guys, it'll be resistance on the way back up again. Mark my words, we won't just blast right through 340. We'll have to work our way back through that again, even with this great news that we got today. So again, to recap, there's a 90-day pause on all of the tariffs all over the world, with the exception of China. China remains with a 125% tariff. It was actually increased to 125%, effective immediately. That way, as Donald Trump says here, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable, right? So again, whether you agree or disagree with the politics, the markets love this news. They realize that now for the rest of the world, there's a pause on tariffs. Those were reduced by 10% during this time period. The reciprocal tariffs were reduced by 10%. And the only country that's really being penalized moving forward is China. So hopefully you found value in today's lesson, book a course with me, book an individual appointment with me at gdinerocoaching.com. Like this video, comment on this video. What'd you like best? What didn't you like? Perhaps I triggered people by talking about politics and mixing it with technical analysis, but they go hand in hand. Make sure you're subscribed so that you see more updates like this of not only mine, but others who make updates like me. And again, remember, this is G Dinero helping you increase your financial literacy to put you and your family on that path to financial freedom. Have a wonderful afternoon. We'll talk soon.